Well, Matt, gosh, I feel like I'm just congratulating you left, right, and center this year. I wanted to give you some props on your new position.
What I do this time?
Your new position at Crafton. I hear
Oh,
you've
yeah,
been
yeah,
put in
yeah,
charge
yeah.
of the Subnautica 2 development and what's going on over there. And I think you've been making some great decisions lately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, like, if there's one way to save money, it's to fire the 3 people who are about to get a $250 million bonus.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, how many copies of that game do they got to sell for them to actually, like, for that financial decision not to make sense, right?
Right. A lot. More than I think they sold for Subnautica 1.
Somebody did a little math and they're like, oh, yeah, these guys definitely are not delivering on their goals here. Fired. Even though they invented the game and the genre and everything. But
there's a little bit of he said, she said going on right now, though.
It's true. It is true. So before we dive into the story, welcome to the Level With Me podcast, everybody. We are talking about Subnautica 2 drama, and we'll be talking about other fun game drama today. If you guys want to support the podcast further, you can check out our Patreon in the video description where you can actually watch us record it live. And hear me make mistakes about high school chemistry and stuff that we didn't record before the podcast. That would have been deeply embarrassing.
Very embarrassing, yeah.
Include in the actual recording. But getting over to, I feel like this has been the story of the last week, is just Subnautica 2. The 3 leads of the project got fired by Crafton, who's the publishing company who bought, I guess, the studio of Subnautica. They fired them. The game was scheduled to release this year, and they pushed the game back to a release date of 2026, saying that these executives were delaying the game. It wasn't up to spec, and they're going to try and get it out on their 2025 deadline to get a $250 million bonus that was apparently agreed to if they got the game ready and shipped by 2025. So,
and then I think they needed to hit a financial goal too. Like they had to sell a certain amount of copies too.
Okay.
I think.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't just to launch the game, I don't think.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
It sounds like a terrible contract regardless. Like whoever came up with this deal is insane. It looks very much, without getting too, before we get into some of the additional details, it does look like Crafton essentially tried to fire the people that they were going to have to pay $250 million to avoid paying $250 million and then delaying the game, saying it wasn't ready when maybe it was ready, because they do the math and they go, well, $250 million, we're not making that back. So why don't we just fire these guys? Now, there was a leaked document that Crafton is verifying and saying that is totally real. And apparently it's proof, which I wouldn't necessarily agree with, but it's supposed to implicate them not hitting their goals of the content that was required for the game to launch with. And it's those documents. I don't want to put too much weight into it. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but it's very hard to quantify game content into like a number. So where you're like, it needs 4 missions and 3 of these and 2 of those. Right. Because each one of those can have a certain level of depth that goes way beyond anything that anybody expected. How are we to know what one map is versus what 3 maps are in any game? One map could be 100 times more content than 3 maps. We just don't know because whatever. So their document implied that they weren't hitting the content quota that they had agreed to or were shooting for, but it doesn't necessarily paint a full picture. Anyway, the people are let go. The CEOs are now suing Crafton. The internet is ablaze with speculation about what it all means. And Subnautica fans are not going to get Subnautica 2 this year.
Yeah. It's a good rundown.
So why'd you do it, Matt? Why did you fire them?
Why I do it?
Yeah.
I'm not actually a part of this, but
I like that you have to clarify that every podcast.
He said, well, because dude, I literally get people messaging me about like stuff that you talked about a long time ago. I'm like, I'm just a random dude on the internet. He's joking. Anyways, it's a lot of he said, she said. Where I find it to be quite interesting is it feels like it is the opposite of what usually the norm. Most gamers are like, yeah, don't rush the game out and, wait and make sure that it's ready for release. And big CEOs are like, no, the game needs to come out as soon as possible so that we can make our money. But it's like literally flipped on its head, right?
Yeah.
It's the opposite. Now everyone's like, why didn't you release your game? It's like, well, because it's not ready.
Yeah, but it's the publishers saying that as opposed to the game devs, right?
Right. Well, the game devs that I haven't looked into it entirely, but it's the game. Yeah. I also heard that 90% of the 250 million would have gone to just the 3 people that were fired. Yeah. And so they have a little bit of incentive to like really make sure that it goes out. So it wasn't like going to the entire team. So I've heard.
Although the lead dev he said basically last time and when they sold the company to Krafton, they decided to distribute that money to their employees and that they were planning on doing that again this time around. Which, I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I'll give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt there. Writing out a contract that stipulates like where the money goes and all that overcomplicates stuff massively. So it would have been way easier for Krafton to just agree to pay these executives that amount and then let them distribute it however they want. I'm just saying, if you look at the guy's history, well, look, if the guy says they were going to pay it out to their devs,
no, trust me, I hear what you're saying.
And they did it with their past game, then I think you have more reason to believe than to disbelieve at that point, right?
So the 10. So let's say hypothetically the 90%. You realize why I'm a little skeptical of this, because when I hear 90% is going to go to the CEO or going to the 3 guys, and then the rest is the 10% is going to go to the other developers, the people working on the project. Then why, if it's already in the contract that it's going to be 90-10, well then why not make it 80-20 or 70-30 right off the rip, right? Why have to be like, trust us, we will do we'll do the right thing for you guys. Why not just have it right in the contract? So that makes me a little suspicious.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I can understand from their perspective wanting a little more control where they're like, we don't know where we're going to be financially after this, so I don't want to agree to like a locked in percentage rate, and then they can sort of decide. But yes, I see what you're saying.
Like, trust us. And I'm sure they have done great things for their dev team in the past, right? Like, I'm sure they have. I'm not disputing that.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt based on the history and based on the guy just saying that this is how we were planning on doing it. So, but I could be wrong. I'm choosing to give benefit of the doubt to the dev here. One of the weird things that they suggested is that the main developer, the project lead, was into his own weird indie movie project or something. He was working on a movie and was distracted, not helping with this stuff. And maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. We don't know. It's it's hard to try and put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's had a massive hit like Subnautica and then sold the company on top of that. So he's probably loaded. He's probably got just so much money. He doesn't have to make a successful game. He's set for life. But now he's got Subnautica 2, which isn't going to be inherently less exciting and less interesting for them to work on to a degree, right? Because they've already hit the wild success of the first game. You're not going to hit that same high again, right?
Yeah.
So you could see somebody kind of losing interest the second time around and maybe not putting in as good of an effort as they did with their first title. But this is all pure speculation. Like you said, he said, she said. Apparently there's a lawsuit, so we'll see what happens.
I'm sure it will all come out during that, so we'll learn a lot more.
Yeah. Assuming that they make it public or don't settle out of court and all that stuff.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. So much of that stuff is just settled out of court, and then you're just like,
because they're like, we don't want this going public.
yeah. They're like, we all did bad stuff. Why don't we just settle it behind closed doors, and nobody needs to know all the bad things we did.
All in all, I hope that the devs do get compensated, at least, in some respect, and I hope we get a great game. That's that's all I care about.
Well, in the middle of all
treated
of this,
well, and we get a good game.
In the middle of it all, they released the trailer for Subnautica 2, and it looked pretty cool. I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it looked dope.
I mean, it's
Obviously,
Subnautica,
a trailer is not indicative of the polish of a game or
game.
anything, but
Yeah.
fantastic visuals, really fun looking, look pretty like robust and like, I don't know, an adventure, as you would expect.
Yep.
So anyway, it's interesting. It's pretty wild. And I think the lesson here is to like, let's not make all these crazy contracts where if you hit like X goal, you get stupid amounts of money. Let's have scaling contracts.
It's stupid amounts of money too. Like that's dumb money.
$250 million for
yeah.
launching the game in 2025. Like, have a contract that scales. You get this percentage of the sales, whatever. Like,
yeah.
But everybody's in it to make a successful game and make money off of the successful game. Let's not make all these weird rules that's like going to incentivize people to make bad decisions. Yeah. Silliness. So yeah, stop making dumb contracts, guys. Make good contracts. Yeah. Gosh, I feel like so last podcast we chatted about Battlefield a bit, but we were talking about the single player delay.
Yes.
Before that, we talked a little bit about the open weapon system, and they've kind of reiterated in the last week. They came out with another devlog that was like, trust us, guys. This open weapon system that you're concerned about for the upcoming Battlefield game is going to be cool. Like, we're going to have all these cool systems in it, and just try it out.
They had a whole blog post on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty extensive, which I'll commend them for coming out and talking about the systems, especially the ones that people are disagreeing about. That's much better than them just being tight-lipped and being like, no, we'll decide behind closed doors and you guys won't get to hear about it. So that's been good, but it's fueled a lot of discussion because it is essentially the Battlefield 2042 weapon system to a degree with a little bit of mechanics from BF5.
It's the new Battlefield 2042 weapon system, but yes.
Yeah. So it's open.
Because people, when they think of 2042, they think of when it launched, and that was not a class system. And now it is more of a class system. That's all. That's the only reason why I'm clarifying is that it's not.
Is 2042 more of a class system?
Yeah, now it is. They made it. There's classes now in 2042. Classes.
Yeah. So 2042 offers perks if you use the class of weapon for your, like if you use a sniper rifle as a recon, you will get more steady aim when you hold breath.
Right.
And stuff like that. Things that honestly don't matter in 2042. Like, I mean, you could really throw your guns between different classes and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I don't get that little nonsensical
They're
upgrade.
very small bonuses.
Yeah. It sounds like they could be more significant in this next Battlefield game. And they talked about having an upgrade tree that's kind of like BF5's, which honestly, I kind of hated BF5's upgrade tree, which was like...
It's not like BF5's, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of it. Yeah.
So I read the article. I'll summarize it really quickly. So essentially, they're trying to make classes... They're trying to make classes more defined, and so that you try to fulfill the role of that class without restricting you on the weapons that you have available, but also incentivizing you to try and use particular weapons that fit that role. Yeah. So the example they give is the recon class. So if you play as the recon, you're going to be able to have less sway when you're aiming down sight. You'll be able to rechamber your rounds faster. So you're literally going to have a faster rate of fire when you play as the recon and using a bolt action. And that's a pretty big deal. And I think you also can hold your breath longer too. So that's a pretty big like bonus just right off the rip. Like rechambering more often, like that's massive. More rounds downrange is always going to be stronger. So that's like kind of the recon base kit. You then have like you were saying, was like a Battlefield 5 tree, but it's not, you don't level up the class. You level up the class in the game, like while you're playing around. Yeah. Right? So that's why I wanted to make that distinction, is because you're not like leveling up outside of it. Yeah, it's in the game. So you're going to either choose between the sniper path or the Pathfinder path. I believe it was called Pathfinder. Let me just verify. Yeah. And so this is going to now give you kind of, the way I kind of view it is there's going to be like 8 classes in Battlefield 6. Maybe not to the extreme of what people would assume would be a class, but it's basically 4 classes with 2 subclasses underneath it, and you get to kind of choose which class you want to go. So sniper I have the image here. Level 0 is literally, so you just start at level 0. We'll have improved auto spotting, speed, range, and duration. Okay, you're aiming down sight and use auto spot, whatever. Level 1 is sniper hits highlight enemies and prevents healing. Level 2, sniper headshots are unrevivable. And then the ultimate, you get like an ultimate ability at the end, is you call in a UAV to mark position for passive spotting in a location.
Yeah.
So that's the sniper. And then the Pathfinder is quieter takedowns, crouch, and movement, undetected by equipment except when sprinting. That's level 1. And then level 2 is enemies you damage are spotted for your team. Right, so it's trying to make more of a stealthy playstyle, right? So in my eyes, I see basically you got a sniper, and then you've got like someone who wants to use like maybe an SMG, right?
Yeah,
something that is not a bolt action, right?
Yeah. What do you think about these upgrade paths?
I like what they're trying to go with it, but I feel like they might be overcomplicating things just to try and kind of get the feel of a class. But by overcomplicating it,
Yeah. I feel like I just don't want to deal with that tree at all. Like it feels unnecessary. I
almost would want it to be you just have all those unlocked at the beginning, or just give us 8 classes instead. Like here's the sniper, here's the Pathfinder, here's the medic, here's the support.
Give me 4 classes with their subclasses, and I just pick which one that I'm using.
Yeah. I don't really like the idea of, because I love the idea of a sniper getting headshots and they can't be, players can't be revived after their headshot. I think that's actually really dope.
Yeah.
The fact that you can only get that maybe as you progress through a round, it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's fine, but I'd rather just be, if it's going to be a passive, just make it be passive.
Well, but also think about how forgettable the BF4 perk system was. Remember they had those like that was one of the features. As you played and did more squad objectives, you would unlock ballistic armor and like extra grenades and extra ammo, and it was one of the most forgettable experiences.
Just ignored it the entire time
ever. I don't think in all of my time playing BF4 maybe mentioned once or twice ever like, oh hey, we got the extra ammo or something.
Right.
Nobody ever paid attention to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I agree. It is like pretty much overcomplicated things that could have made just be more simple if they just like here's the class. And then I think there was maybe, and then they have signature gadgets where you're going to have some sort of signature gadget that will make your class even more defined. And so I think like one would be like a repair torch, or for like for the class. So they're doing all these things to try and give you a class role that you want to fulfill. And I respect it. I think it could work, but as I said, we could just be overcomplicating things for the sake of it, just because they're trying to not have weapons restricted.
Well, and it's so similar to the current 2042 approach to classes, in that they're just taking those extra benefits for weapons and ramping it up a little more. And sure, it's not nothing. Rechamber speed is a thing, but depending on what percentage they make that, and that could be a variable amount that they just dial it down to like 5%, at which point you're like, is that really going to deter me from using, certain weapons with certain classes? And especially depending on what the nerfs are, right? Like a guy in a ghillie suit picks up a machine gun, as long as that thing more or less fires decently well, like there might be a huge incentive to create a more stealthy, sneaky class that can also lay down 200 rounds of fire from a bush, and just mixing those things up, I feel like has taken away from the class experience in 2042. And I think players just don't want that. We're like, okay, so you're going to incentivize us to use the weapons, but we still just don't really have to. So why, if you're saying it's so much better to use a bolt action with a recon class, then why are you still leaving it open anyway, To
give people the creative freedom to be able to play as the Pathfinder.
Yeah, but if it's viable and it's fun, then all we're going to get at the end of the day is open weapon systems for everything, right? People might just have, if the assault rifle is amazing, everybody's going to have the assault rifle,
Right.
And it's just not going to have that. When I see a guy in a ghillie suit, I know that he's either got like a
So
bolt
a lot of
action
people bring
rifle.
that up.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. A lot of people bring that up. But how often does that actually happen throughout a match where you're constantly like, I think of a lot of Battlefield players are giving this impression that you're playing like 4D chess all the time. Like, oh my God, I see that guy with a, a lot of it is like, can I kill them? Yes. And then it's not like this, like, it's usually
counter
what
that.
weapon you have.
I'll counter that really quick in that
2042,
you can have a sniper rifle and you can throw down a med pack, right?
Yeah.
So if you're having a sniper battle with somebody at range and they dip behind a corner, they med it up real quick. You didn't realize that they had a placeable med crate there. Peek back out. You're like, one shot and they're dead now because I hit them once. And then you hit them again. They don't die. And you're like, wait, what am I fighting against exactly? Oh,
yeah, but like there's literally like character, like you can see the characters. Like it's very obvious in that game what class you're fighting against, especially with the bolt action rifle.
Yeah, maybe. But then you got the med pack, so you could do things. And I can't remember if they took this away in 2042. It's been a little while since I played, but you could drop med and ammo. You could be a class that could heal and drop ammo and have a bolt action rifle. And that's when kind of the ideas of these classes started to break down. And it was a pretty big problem in 2042, in my opinion, where you could just get up on a cliff, heal yourself, and lay down as much fire as you possibly wanted to because you had infinite ammo. And it just kind of broke what the recon class could be. And you started getting these cheesy gameplay mechanics. And so I don't want that to happen. And it sounds like they're leaving the door open for that to happen. They're like, yeah, you won't be able to shoot as fast. Okay, well, maybe that doesn't matter if I can shoot as much as I possibly want to,
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. I would prefer there to be weapons locked, but I kind of want to play devil's advocate a little bit because I've been seeing people online say DICE isn't listening to the community. The whole point of Battlefield Labs was for DICE to listen to the community, and they're not listening to the community. And it's like, what the hell is, what? It's like, well, first of all, I think they were listening to the community that is playing Battlefield Labs.
Yeah.
Right. And
sure.
We're all discussing this from, I haven't played it, and people be like, of course you haven't played it, Matt. Oh, sure you have. I get this all the time. Sure you haven't played it, Matt. I'm legitimately not in the labs. I have not played it at all.
And I will say that as well. Like if I was under NDA, then I would feel very weird about speculating about it, which is why I intentionally didn't join the labs playtest because I want to speculate like you do.
Yep. So when I hear they're not listening to the community, it's like, well, are they not listening to the community that isn't playing it right now, or are they listening to the community that is playing it right now? Because from people that I have heard who've played it, who have potentially played it, they all say that like, yeah, it's fine. Like the game runs really well. Like the class system works, and it's not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Now that could just be very selective. I've only talked to a couple of people that are in. But hypothetically, and it's not like a massive, it's not as big of an issue as the community at large is making it. So it's like maybe they're listening to the people that are actually playing it and not the people that are just like us speculating.
Yeah.
So I wanted to,
fair enough. And I don't think 2042 is necessarily like ruined by an open weapon system or anything like that.
That game had way more problems than just its weapons.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like if that was its number one issue, it'd be a fine game. So for sure, we haven't played it. We're just speculating. And the community is, and I'll defend the community on this a bit. I think they're rightly sensitive.
You think having multiple kind of stinkers back to back doesn't make the community a little bit like, hey dum-dums, how about you just do the thing that worked in the past and stop trying to change the formula. Just do the thing that worked.
Because from the outside perspective, you'd be like, boy, you guys are really making a big deal over this small change. And you're like, you don't understand. Like the franchise has been going downhill for a long time. They've been making tons of dumb decisions that the community's like, this is clearly a terrible decision. And then they make it. And so it sort of feels like the same thing happening again. So people are definitely, you could say we're making a mountain out of a molehill, but
I think some people are.
Sure, but also I think people are afraid of it being a slippery slope where it's like, okay, if we give a little ground on this open weapon thing, then what's next? Are we getting our pink operator skins and all the crazy Is it like people are going to be running around with beats in game, like beats?
I get why people are scared. Yeah. I get why people are like this. We need to make a stand here because we don't want anything else to happen to the the title. Yeah,
exactly.
I gotcha.
Hold the line.
Though I do roll my eyes a little bit when I watched a bunch of videos about this because I was curious to see what other content creators and what other people in the community thought about it. And there was a lot of people that were just saying DICE needs to just walk weapons, not because it's inherently a good thing, but because the community is asking for it and they need to have a quote unquote win because there shouldn't be any controversy. They need to keep that hype rolling and we shouldn't have any confrontation. I'm like, that's
not a great reason. Yeah.
It's not a great reason. That was resonated throughout multiple videos that I saw. It's like, that's a weird way of framing it.
Yeah, no, I would disagree with that. You want your game developers to not pay attention to the vibe of the community to a certain degree where you say,
because it is their game at the end of the day.
You have to trust them to a certain extent to make a decision that is going to make the game more fun to play. And so if we're not playing it, then ultimately we are in a worse off position to actually tell them what is going to be more or less fun. But we certainly have thousands of hours of Battlefield gaming experience, both with locked and without locked weapon systems, and we have our preferences and whatnot. Yeah. So
and my preference is locked weapons. So I
am in agreement. But
I am kind of playing a little devil's advocate because I feel like, good God, is it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's as doom and gloom as people are insinuating.
Right. You're right. You're correct. It could still be totally fine. But I think it is just one more tool to make classes more interesting. And in my opinion, the only reason not to do it is because you don't have the weapon quota to make the game as varied and interesting,
Yeah, I hope we don't have another 2042 problem where it's like two LMGs at launch.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't make a class out of that. Like that's worthless.
Yeah. It was very clear why they did it in 2042. So we're like, I hope it's not because of lack of content in this game, which would suck.
Yeah, no, for sure. What was I going to say? The only thing I'm worried about with a locked class system is like what they say with the recon class, having a sniper class and then having a reconnaissance stealthy class that's all about getting close and personal with some sort of other weapon. Now, they could have accomplished this by having like a fifth class, right? So that fifth class has access to some other kind of weapon type. Yeah. But then if they do that for multiple classes, like let's say they added legitimately 8, because it kind of feels like there's going to be sort of pseudo 8 classes in Battlefield 6 based off of this whole like 2 different trees underneath. Well, then what do you give if they just go that path, right? Well, then at some point there's going to be overlap in the weapons that they use.
Yeah, you have the universal weapon classes, which is what BF4 did. You had your PDWs.
And it worked in there, and I don't remember people making such a fuss about it in that game.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying is it worked well, I thought. So the Recon was the only class that could get the bolt action rifles.
Right.
But then you had universal weapon classes like a PDW.
The carbine.
You could get your carbines too. But like PDW.
No, it was carbines. PDWs were engineered.
Oh, okay. Did I get that wrong? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just switch. You're good.
Yeah. So you had a universal weapon class that the carbines generally weren't as good as the assault rifles. They were close, but if you were going for pure melee combat, or pure infantry combat, full auto combat, then it just didn't quite hold up. And so there was an incentive to use the assault class over the recon if you're focusing purely on close quarter action. But you had the option, right? With a universal class weapon class system. But BF4 launched with so many guns,
oh yeah,
it just had so many guns. So they had all these fun things to do and locked weapon systems and all that stuff. And I think BF1's another good example of a game that had locked weapon classes that I think did really well with it. Granted, they did have not as much variety compared to other games, but I really liked playing Recon in that game a lot, or Scout, whatever it was called. Yeah. Very distinct weapons, very distinct gadgets all associated with it. It played completely differently from a support class or or your normal assault class. So they did really good jobs in past games, and it does feel like this game's going to get a little bit muddied down
little
in
muddied,
some
yeah.
days, in some ways.
Yeah.
And that's just coming from being.
Do you think that because I agree with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, much more class definition for there.
Yeah.
But Battlefield 4, I think, was already a little bit more muddied.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use that as the example. And I don't remember people making as big of a fuss back then, because you're right, we had Universe, we had shotguns, we had carbines, we had DMRs.
Yeah.
Is it because those were like middle grounds and they weren't like a cut above the shotguns?
I think so, because the DMR. They were decent, but if you're long range sniping, it's not going to hold up against a bolt action.
Right.
Shotgun, fun in a CQB environment, but an assault rifle could easily take you out just as well, and the guy behind you, and deal with targets at multiple ranges. So less flexible of a weapon platform, and the carbine is essentially just a nerfed assault rifle. So the universal weapon classes just didn't really hit above in any particular category than most other weapons. I think
except for engineer usually.
Yeah. Right, because they had the PDWs, so most NGs ran carbines.
A lot of NGs used carbines.
Yeah, BF4 was far from a perfect game weapon balance wise, and it was muddied to some degree. So I don't know. I think modern games are trickier to do, but I do prefer the more stylized version of BF1 and BF5,
Because those World War II games, they had, or World War 1 and 2, they had the benefit of being more like, okay, these are the bolt actions, these are the semi-auto, these are the close quarter SMGs, right? Like, it's much more distinct between them. But how do you do that for more of a modern combat, like you said? Because it's like, everything's automatic for the most part, and they're all going to feel kind of similar. So,
but it's much more challenging, for sure.
Yeah. Could also reframe it as this is more of a sandbox if they go this path, is that they give more creative freedom to the player to have their own sandbox experience and create their own little kind of mini class. But I'm kind of grasping a little bit, not straws, but
it's funny because I think ultimately people adore the more modern games a little bit more than the historical ones, just because they want to do their little milsim cosplay stuff. So as long as you can just get your assault rifle and put all the lasers and optics and all that junk on it and make it look like your cool milsim dude, and people are like, best game ever. And you're like, yeah, but it feels less distinct, but fine. I think that's what it is.
All in all, I'm kind of on board with the community on this. I'd like them to just be like, just lock the classes, just lock the class weapons, but also to push back a little bit as well on my own stance, I would also hate for there to be there would be restrictions on having playstyles like the Pathfinder, like they described, a stealthy close quarter recon that's about gathered information, but like being up in the enemy's business and kind of stealthing around the map and getting on objectives and laying down beacons and stuff. Right? Yeah. I think that's also really cool, and I want to have that sort of class with inside of the recon. And if you restrict your weapons, you can't have that. You just can't really do that, or you can, but you're not going to be very effective with the bolt action for most players.
Yeah. Well, and you know what they haven't done as much of is maybe BF1 did this a little bit, but they haven't mixed weapons within a locked class too much. So what if the recon had bolt actions, but they also had a couple of SMG options?
Yeah.
That could be kind of cool.
There you go. That could solve the problem entirely. Yeah.
But then the recon only gets the MP5K or whatever, and so you're like, oh, I want that gun. Oh, it's recon exclusive.
That's for the Pathfinder. Yeah.
That would be cool. I think that would be sick. A lot of games have done that, and
that
nobody's sitting there being like,
compromise.
why can't this gun? Why can't I hold that gun? You're like, yeah, sure, it's unrealistic, but it's a game. Ultimately, you're trying to make classes. Yeah.
So general thoughts.
Yeah.
Seems like they might be overcomplicating things when at the end of the day, all you got to do is just lock the weapons behind it. You're trying to do too much, and it could work. Like I said, they're developing this game alongside people that are in labs. They're getting the feedback from labs. The community is obviously very hesitant and they're concerned because they've been burned so often in the past, and I get that, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and people might see sooner rather than later, because there was a leak about an open beta potentially
Oh.
at some point. No date, but they found open beta stuff in data mining.
We kind of knew there was going to be some sort of beta based off of past Battlefields,
but I wonder if because they're finding the leaked info in, I guess, the latest build, if that means they're prepping for an open beta. So hopefully people will be able to just figure it out for themselves, and then we don't have to debate over whether or not it's good, and we can actually just try it. Yeah.
Because I've been hearing people say, like, I'm not playing the next Battlefield. It doesn't have weapon locked weapons.
That's silliness.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, because it goes back to the whole we've been burned a lot, right?
Yeah.
They're like, they're making a stance. But I have the mentality, it's like, if the game is good, the game is good, and people will play it if the game is good, right? I'd be very surprised if people have this hard stance, like it has to have this or I'm out, while everyone else is having fun. It's like, if the game is good, and it's great, then whatever. But
that's certainly a minority of the player base kind of sticking to this principle of whatever. I'm not even sure what the principle is, I'm
not sure either.
My general principle is game good, I play.
Game good, I play. Yeah. Exactly. If the game is good, it may not be exactly what I wanted, but as long as it's working within the game and the what they've created, then whatever.
Yeah. Hey, I bought a new keyboard. I just thought I would mention this because
is it nice and clickety clacky?
Oh man, thunky, I think is what they call it in the keyboard world. I don't know. I'm learning my terminology. Thunky. Okay. So I've been getting gaming keyboards my whole life, like Razer, mostly Razer. Actually, I was going to list off stuff, but I'm like, I think it's mostly been Razer.
It's basically Razer.
Razer, and then like maybe a Corsair or something here or there. Logitech, actually. I've had some Logitech mechanical keyboards from time to time. But gamer keyboards generally advertise specific things, and they're going for specific features that might lead to an overall cheaper feeling board or a lighter weight board or something with not the most pleasing.
You get a premium keyboard.
I got a premium keyboard, Matt. I was kind of oblivious to the premium keyboard market. I mean, I had been aware of it, but I was like, why would anybody spend X amount of dollars on these crazy keyboards?
Right.
So I got a Keychron.
A Keychron. Ooh.
Yeah, from a recommendation from my friend. And it's nice, Matt. It is fantastic, dude. I type now and I'm like, I feel like a professional. It's got this thunk and stuff. Good. Yeah. And then I was talking to some other people who like buy these keyboards that are like, they've got patents for like old school ways of making keyboards and nobody else can make them that way. And it's like a special way that the keys click and clack, and like people get really into it. And I get it now that I've got like this really high end Keychron with like brown switches. It's like, oh, it's nice, dude. I'm typing to people and every thing just feels more official. I feel important now. Yeah.
I've never purchased a keyboard like that, but I've heard they're fun.
Yeah, it's got some weight. I've got a 10 key list, so it's like a shorter board, but I don't know. It weighs like 20 pounds, dude. It's like a heavy board.
Jeez.
I don't know if it's that much, but it's legitimately
20 pounds is a lot.
It might be 10 pounds. It might legitimately be 10 pounds for a small keyboard. So you're like, I think they put brass in it to like weigh it down. Anyway, I like it, man. I'm like, oof, I can't go back now that I've tried this. So it's my recommendation for you if you want to treat yourself one of these days.
I might have to.
Yeah. Nice and quiet too. I thought it was going to be way too like thwacky, and then like people on Discord would be annoyed, but now it's quiet. It's nice.
Nice.
Anyway, that's my plug for keyboards. I played a little, so I want to chat about
some video games.
I played some video games. I want to chat about Star Citizen a little bit because there was a good video from Morphologist, who's one of the bigger members in the Star Citizen community. He plays other games, and he came into Star Citizen to check out some new content and decided to make a video about just it not working. He spent hours and hours and hours trying to do these missions and them just failing as they do in Star Citizen. You and I have been there before where we're like, here's our objective, let's do that. And then you get there and you try and do it and it breaks because the game is not finished and super unreliable and the servers and whatever, So he instead pivoted to making a video talking about like stars, this is supposed to be the year of health for Star Citizen, where things get better.
Operation Health, but
where
in
things
Star
get
Citizen.
better, they're more playable, and on one hand, they're delivering in the content department, which is what people have been asking for. We're like, hey, you guys keep launching new ships, and then we have nothing to do with them. Like, you're just like, good, now go run the same 100 missions that you've run 1,000 times before with this new ship. And you're like, that's not fun anymore. Like, I need more content. So they're delivering all this new content, new mission content, and all this other stuff, but it's not stable. It's not consistent. You get in to try and play it, and it barely works. And there's facets of Star Citizen that you can play reliably, like probably some of the basic hauling missions. You can get your boxes, put them on your ship, turn in your boxes.
My favorite.
Your favorite. It's riveting gameplay, Matt.
I love moving boxes around.
Some of the basic bounty
I played Death
missions.
Stranding, baby, and I finished it.
Yeah, this is more boring than Death Stranding for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's like I actually ran a cargo mission the other day just to like kind of brush up on some stuff, and I like the flying part. I like the landing part. It's the part where you just open the back of your ship and then it's like, now move 10 boxes from this to that. And it is monotonous. It's not skillful. It's not fun. It's horrible. And you're just like, this is just a time sink and not a good one. Like Tetris is a good time sink. Like, give me Tetris. I'll play that. This is terrible. This is like, click on that and then look over there and then click on that. It's just terrible. But it works. It's stable. And so they got all these other missions, like bounties are probably more or less stable. But then they add this new content and you going, oh, I can't wait to go fight the sandworm or run these crazy exclusion zones or whatever. And it just doesn't work. It's not stable. And I think what was
his conclusion in the video?
Well, I mean, Morph was basically saying it's pretty hard to recommend getting into Star Citizen, and he doesn't really at this point in time. Is like, I don't recommend this experience to somebody looking at a video of Star Citizen going, wow, that game looks so expansive and fantastic. And it's like, when it works, when you get lucky and the whole mission doesn't break. Otherwise you're spending hours and hours of time to fail at something. And it's not your fault that you failed. So that was kind of the conclusion, is it's hard to recommend. And I sort of want to take that one step further and talk about how I think they've hit a bit of content saturation, where they've come out with the biggest ship players have ever seen. And it's sort of like a technical marvel of like, you're flying a level through the game and you could have 100 players on it and doing all that. And you're like, that's pretty cool. But they've sort of showed off similar tech like that before. I think they've run out a little of their bag of tricks to a degree, which is like, ooh, bigger ship. Okay, cool. Crazy mission with sandworm in it. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Procedurally generated planets. Okay, cool. We've seen that. Like the bag of tricks is starting to run out, and it's being held up by a foundation that is still not there yet. Foundational gameplay, foundational mission stuff that is not quite ready. And they got to deal with that as soon as humanly possible, because I think the jig is up to a certain degree where the new ships are not as exciting anymore. And the new gameplay, while it looks really cool from the trailers, everybody who's a veteran of the game says, yeah, that looks cool in those trailers. But I know the real experience is going to be me trying to hit a button and the button not working, and then that'll be the end of that mission because it just broke. I couldn't open the door.
Or there's, you got to kill a bunch of people in a ship, and one of them just so happens to be inside of a wall, and you run around for 30 minutes trying to figure out where he is, and
Exactly. You've played enough Star Citizen to know of all the bugs that you will encounter, because I think even in the limited times that we've played together, the quantity of bugs we encountered was just
quite high.
Exponential. Yeah. You're just like, how can this game break in so many ways? So Yeah, I think they've sort of hit their little wow factor saturation, and now it's like, all right,
They got to
guys.
deliver content. They got to deliver like missions and
Yeah,
story elements.
well, that's coming in. It is coming in, but it breaks. So it's like,
right.
You gotta get the foundation, the stability in there, because the mission content is cool. They got this cool science lab now on one of the planets in Pyro, and they're doing all kinds of evil research with like animals and stuff and whatever. And you break in, and you got all these guys. Their guards are wearing radiation suits, and it's cool. There's lore, there's story there, and it just breaks. It just breaks while you're doing it. So you're like, I want to do this. This seems fun and cool, and the graphics are awesome, and it just breaks. Yeah. So they keep launching this content, and it keeps breaking, and that was definitely one of the main points they made. I want to say earlier this year or maybe late last year, where they said, we want the content coming into the game to be solid on the first go round. And it's not, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll get there. But yeah, I did jump back in to run some Star Citizen. And, on that glowing recommendation, Matt, what do you want to jump in with me maybe next week, this week, end of this week, run some missions? Yeah.
I mean, if you want, I could. Yeah.
All right. There's an open invite from the guy that we both know to try some lower key missions.
I see.
That don't involve such elaborate orchestration, shall we say.
All right. Well, I'll slide into your DMs. We can communicate.
All right. Sounds good, man. Sounds good. You can get Nvidia's been rolling out their little this new tech called Smooth Motion. It's been out for the 50 series for a little while. They just rolled out beta drivers for the 40 series. This is basically, if your game doesn't support frame gen, they're just like, now it does. The game doesn't have to support it. And there's been a program on Steam for a while that you can buy for like $5 that'll give you kind of upscaling for games that, upscaling and frame gen type stuff for games that don't support it. This is NVIDIA's official sort of way of supporting it for games that haven't yet built in the frame gen tech to their games. So good for older games that aren't getting updates, but also you can turn it on for Star Citizen now. So
Star Citizen can run a little bit nicer. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So if you want to see more than your 40 FPS or whatever you're getting, you can turn it on.
It'll feel like 40 FPS, but at least it won't look like it.
Exactly, Matt.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people can run the game at 60. So if you're getting that 60 FPS gameplay and it looks like 120, it's not the worst experience ever.
That probably plays pretty well. Yeah.
So
sounds reasonable.
Yeah. While you wait for them to actually support native frame gen, you can get the, I don't know what to call it.
Fix everything else.
Yeah. The non-supported frame gen. I saw people are talking about Tales of the Shire because it's coming out at the end of the month. Have you heard of this?
Okay. It's the like cute little Hobbit game, right?
Yeah. It kind of looks like, what's that farm game that everybody plays that's super popular?
They're farming simulator?
The one on the Nintendo and all the platforms. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Stardew
Valley.
Yeah. It feels like Stardew Valley, but in Hobbiton.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but it looks like a non-combat Lord of the Rings game.
Yes. It's very cozy.
Yeah. And when I heard that concept, I was like, I'm down. I'm down to just like go to Hobbiton and like grow some carrots and make some mead, bring that mead
I think
to
it'll
parties.
be like not base building, but you'll be able to like customize your little Hobbit dwelling too.
Yeah. And then you could like be the star of the party. You bring the best food, the best mead, fireworks or something. Yeah. I don't like the graphics in this game are not anything that look good, but it looks pretty.
The Hobbits look a little jank, but
yeah, it looks like a game that was meant to run on a system from 10 years ago. And you're like, okay, I'm sure it's well optimized, but you could have pushed the visuals a little further. But I don't know. I just found myself thinking about playing a non-combat Lord of the Rings game and feeling like, I could absolutely be game for this.
It looks cute.
Yeah, the graphics look a little overly simplistic is the only thing. And there's a little bit of gameplay stuff that looks a little like press A to fish or something, and then you fish, and then that's it. And I'm like, you don't want to give me a little more control? Maybe.
Oh, it comes out this month. July 29th.
There you go, Matt. You can stream that one to your
There we
audience
go.
right there on launch day. Maybe you'll get early access. You'll get unlock.
Probably not.
You'll
Maybe.
unlock Bilbo or something. I don't know. I want some early access perks.
I don't even know when it takes place.
Yeah,
Clearly
what era
not in not during the Fellowship or anything like that, because it's very peaceful.
Yeah, well, did the Shire actually ever get overrun, or was that just like a vision?
In the books.
In the books, it gets overrun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, but yeah, in the books, they all come back. Yeah. They all come back and they've been overrun, and then basically because they're all like grizzled war veterans now, they just kick ass and like create an uprising against the orcs that are there. And that's like from what I remember, it's been a long time, but
yeah, dude, I haven't read those books for so long, so I didn't even remember that. I was like, was that just a vision? Because it's like the movie they just kind of like intermingle with the books, and then you're like, wait, was that a movie thing or a book thing? I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, it's been like 15 years since I've read, but I'm pretty sure they come back and it's overrun, and they have to kick them out.
It's pretty good memory. Did you play the Rimworld DLC?
I played Rimworld, I played Escape from Tarkov, and I played Delta Force Update.
Okay. That's cool. I've been seeing the Rimworld.
Well, that's cool. I didn't actually care about those other things, Matt, but yeah, what about that Rim? Yeah, the Odyssey update has come out, and it's freaking dope.
Yeah, it looks cool. That's why I wanted to ask you about it. I saw spaceships, man. Spaceships look cool.
I haven't gotten that deep into it. I'm still pretty early on because Rimworld, and it can, getting back into Rimworld was a little tough because there's a lot to remember, and there's a lot of systems that are, once you figure it out, it's intuitive, but it's not very intuitive when you're getting started, and which I know is kind of whatever. It's basically you are able to move around from biome to biome every so often, and you're going to have to move from biome to biome because you're being chased by like this mech hive that so you begin, you're running away from this mech hive, super very big threat, and it's your job to then survive, build up a spaceship or build up your base basically. You can make it however you want. You can be a cube. You can make it look really cool, and then build up enough forces so that you can then go and destroy the mech hive and win the scenario in that capacity, right? Like it's the end game quest for it. You will need to build bigger like engines and stuff like that, and the ability to like make your ship bigger so that you can have more space and more, and all that stuff. There's no like combat in space though. You're basically it's just a way to move your base from place to place.
Okay.
Which I really liked, because one of my issues with Rimworld is I felt like I got all the resources in one area and I was like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
This is like you lift off, you discover a new biome, you live there for a while, the mechs arrive, and then you take off again, before they arrive, and then you're in a new place, right?
Yeah.
So it's constantly making you like build farms in new locations. You're not able to really put down roots, but at least you can go out and like really explore what the different areas have to offer, which I thought was pretty cool.
How long has Rimworld been out? It's been out for a while, right?
Been out for a hot minute, yeah.
It's cool that they're making content for it. It's such a bizarre
2013
cool game. 2013, dang. Yeah, so I saw the DLC for it and I was like, huh? I mean, I'm not like a huge Rimworld fanboy in that I don't follow the news and stuff, so the DLC kind of surprised me, and then I saw spaceships in it and I was like, sick. I was thinking about jumping back in, but it can be hard to get into really deep games like that, and I've been doing some performance recording on my new PC system, and I was like, oh, it's a good game that'll tax my computer, Path of Exile 2. And I haven't played since they launched their DLC for it, the Hunt of the Wild or whatever. And rebuilding my character to meet the new, because all my skill trees are broken and stuff now, and my current, my build just doesn't work anymore. I'm like, this is like a several hour investment at least. Just to
get your feet underneath you.
Just to rebuild my character skill tree and get the items I need to play at the level that I had previously been playing at. So I have to backtrack now and and like basically grind lower levels and like try set. It's a pain, man. I was like, man, I see why they probably lost a bunch of players with some of their DLC, because they changed so much stuff where you're like, oh yeah, remember that character you spent 100 hours like making really good?
Yeah, but that's also just Path of Exile.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I guess every ARPG did it. The amount of reworking I had to do, I was surprised by. Where I was like, I haven't even played, and I've been like reworking skill trees and stuff.
Path of Exile 2 is there's 52,000 people playing Path of Exile. There's 6,000 people playing Path of Exile 2.
I've noticed that. So like the guys that I used to follow for like guides and stuff, they're like, I'm going back to Path of Exile now. And it's like, dang, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like, I mean, granted, Path of Exile has been it's so hard to make a sequel to a game that you've been pumping content out for like a decade.
For a decade. Yeah. It's very hard to compete with that.
Yeah. So, and we've seen a lot of sequel games fall into this pit, right? Where they're like, here's the new game. And people are like, old games got way more content and it's just better and more polished and deeper.
Maybe it doesn't look as nice, but
that's it.
It's just a game that's, as you said, more polished. Exactly.
Yeah. So now they have the challenge of like, all right, keep making content and progress for Path of Exile 2 so that we can, I guess, strip players away from Path of Exile 1 to play the sequel. They're kind of fighting with themselves. Yeah. And tough situation, right? Because ultimately you do want to upgrade the genre so that somebody else doesn't steal it from you, right? With the new shiny game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird in those games like that, because Path of Exile 2 clearly has a huge amount of production quality and like the bosses and the visuals and the levels, but you got to have really good nuanced character building and mechanics and stuff. And that's something that the first game dialed in, and the second game is still.
I think people will go back to it. Once it gets more bigger updates, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But this is great information for the devs to be like, okay, this isn't working. We need to be changing. Maybe listen to more feedback. And
actually, you reminded me. Is the game even free to play yet? Has it?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a huge consideration as well. Path of Exile 1 is free to play.
Yeah.
And Path of Exile 2 will be free to play after it hits its main milestone or something.
Yeah, 1.0.
1.0. Okay, so that's a pretty good excuse to have a smaller player base. So hopefully it'll get there. But anyway, I had so much time spent reworking my character that I was like, when do I get to play the game? I should have just started a new one at that point and whatnot. But God, that skill tree is so massive. So like relearning that skill tree with like 10,000 options in there, I'm like, okay, how does the lightning resistance and the penetration and the double shock and all that stuff, I'm like trying to relearn all the stuff, and the rules have changed. It's like, it really is like, it's like learning math again. It's fun. It's fun getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun games, there's definitely fun to get into. Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, they've changed a bunch with that game, I hear.
Oh boy, did
and I hear everybody loves the changes.
Yeah. So, for those of you that are not aware, Escape from Tarkov added they had a wipe, which is what everyone usually is excited for with that game, because they've still not figured out how to keep people engaged throughout the entire wipe.
Yeah.
So it gives everyone, back on a level playing field. Everyone's using trash, which is super fun. But they made this season hardcore, and I respect the fact that they're trying to experiment. I actually like that they're doing large things to be like, okay, let's see what works, let's see what doesn't work. But boy, did they find out quickly what doesn't work. Hardcore is not just you have, so there's like no traders upgrading stuff. So there are traders you can sell to, but you don't level them up yet. So they're all level 1, and they all have like nothing to really sell you.
Okay.
So you sell for less, and everything they have costs more. There's also no flea market, so you can't trade with other players. There is they started with no quests, so you just had nothing.
What do you do?
To quest. Well, you just get loot.
You did. That's it. So that's
it.
It seems like a heavily reduced game.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly.
Isn't this better? We just took features away.
you had 100% boss spawns on every single one of the maps except for one, which is like the
Wow.
newbie map.
Okay.
So 100% spawn chance. And then to wrap it up, you could only spawn on 3 maps at the beginning, and you had to transit to another map.
That
right?
transit system seems like the worst.
In theory, it sounds like it sounds like it could work, right? You need to go in, you need to risk yourself, and if you want to go to some place that has better loot, hypothetically, then you transit and you go from map to map to map to make it feel like you're actually in a world and you're not just in like in an arena, right? The problem is Escape from Tarkov is not known for its server infrastructure, so people were crashing in between transits. Also, because you're now limiting the players that are going to those other maps because you have to transit there. Queue times are super long, so you're basically going from one spawn screen to another one, waiting for the loads, and it's just like you have to wait 15 minutes
design,
to get it.
dude.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
The fact that they pushed that through, to be honest, without seeing that as being like the worst decision ever, that baffles me. I'm like, wait, somebody saw this and was like, all right, ship it.
In theory, like I don't have an issue with it. In practice, it's like, it's one of the worst things about Tarkov. They don't
have to do stuff in theory, though. They can test it. They can test this stuff.
Right. I hear you. So they took player feedback, I would say, kind of. They brought back the quest within a day. Yeah. And then a couple days later, they also got rid of the transit system. So now all the maps are available. Still no flea market.
They're able to pivot that quickly. And they weren't like locked into some crap.
Right. And like I said, I'm glad that they are experimenting and trying things out. I think that's okay to have a little bit of problems. It's the community's gonna dunk on it, but at the end of the day, that's why you're testing stuff. Like on a large scale to see what works and see what doesn't work, especially before 1.0. It's a bit crazy that they're doing this right before the 1.0, but I do like some experimentation. Now that there is quests back and you can go wherever you want, it plays a lot better. And I actually, in some ways, like the fact that there's no flea market. I like that you're having to scrap and use whatever weapon that you come across, and not just get the meta weapon. I prefer
that in action RPGs. I hate it when you can just get all your stuff from the trading thing, and you're like, "Oh, did you find that?" No, of course not.
No, I just got out the thing. Exactly.
Yeah. It takes it away.
And then it changes the economy to being more about what you find in terms of making a monetary value, and not, oh, I found this really cool weapon, I'm going to bring it back to my stash and then use that in a future raid. It's, oh, I found all of these things I can sell on the market, or I can sell to traders and, make a lot of money, so then I can make the exact loadout that I want to make the next time.
Boring, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's just, it's a preference. It's like
I think forcing players into variety gameplay, even though, because naturally we want to gravitate towards our comfort zone.
Right.
And we won't force ourselves into variety gameplay.
A lot of times, right? Yeah.
A lot of the times, many players won't. And then when you force them, people start to have a little more fun. They don't want to do it.
That was cool. Like, I didn't know that weapon kind of slapped. All right.
Yeah. It's like convincing my kids to like go on a hike or something. They're like, no, I don't want to.
They're like, this is sweet.
Exactly. They get there and they're having a blast. And they're like, this is the best time ever. So, I can appreciate games that force it into the variety gameplay.
The issue with not having, so once again, this was a little bit half-baked, is the flea market is so important for the entire loadout system in terms of like creating a weapon.
Right.
Like you've got all these attachments everywhere. It's like, how is a normal person, just a normal regular person who plays Tarkov, or even someone who's somewhat, familiar, gonna know what all these attachments are going to be used for? Where are you going to hold them in your base? Maybe they've added in a box that I'm not aware of that will hold just attachments, and only attachments is really relatively easy to come by. Because if you're just having all these attachments in your stash because you now need to hold on to them because you can't just sell them or buy them.
Yeah, that's a lot of inventory.
And you're not able to make your cool loadouts because it's just too clunky and cumbersome, and then you never get the right, you don't get your right optics. And so they could resolve this by making the actual, because I like not having the flea market. Maybe I'm not in the norm here, but I like you said, I like it forces you to make those decisions and and used something different. But also, it'd be cool to be able to interact with the entire attachment system that they clearly put a ton of time into.
Yeah.
But you can't really as well as you could in the past because it's just impossible to know what to pick up for each gun, in my opinion.
Yeah. No. What do you mean? You don't know every internal part of every weapon ever made, Matt? What kind of FPS fan are you, dude? Don't you watch those Milsim channels, dude? And
I do, but even then,
I think they should force you to get the right types of like hex screws to put your like weapon chassis together. You know, like, oh, you don't have the right screws, dude. You needed the the wrong thread size for that one.
Ironically, because so a lot of the screws and nuts and bolts and stuff like that will be used for the hideout, but eventually, once you have the hideout completed and you're not getting those things, that loot pool will be useless to you because you can sell it to the trader. Yeah. But if you're not able to sell it to the people that are still getting that stuff for their own hideout, the value of those diminishes greatly. Yeah. But they could resolve that and be like, oh, well, you can use these as barter, to barter to traders to get like a weapon or to get some really nice attachments, So there would be a way for them to go about it, but it would require a lot of dev time in terms of like, okay, what are we going to make available on the barter system now instead, if they want to go that route and not have the flea market. I feel like the flea market's not going to go anywhere, but it'd be cool to have like maybe an extra mode that was, more hardcore. And you could choose the regular Tarkov or the hardcore Tarkov. But then you're also splitting up your player base, which comes with its own issues.
Yeah, you're now balancing two different games and separating your player base and all that stuff. Yeah. There's a long list of things that could be better about Tarkov. And they probably never will be, but it's just such a weird, clunky project that's still running on like kind of I think... Didn't they talk about upgrading the engines a while back, but they never did, right?
I think there was supposed to be a visual update where they're like, the game doesn't even look like anything like it does now. And I'm like, well, when is that happening? Did it happen? Was he just exaggerating? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. I thought I was supposed to get a big engine overhaul or something, but like...
That's what I thought too.
When you look at modern engines where it's like, hey, let's transition between maps seamlessly, that can be massive, and then Tarkov's like... Now queue up. Now join your little hub map. Now join. It feels pretty dated tech, But yeah, well, there's other games that are vying for that space. I know you played some Delta Force, or not Delta. Yeah. Oh yeah, you did play Delta Force.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So they have a new season, and it honestly has. So I only played the Battlefield mode. Not as interested in the Tarkov mode, the extraction mode.
Yeah.
But the new map is a lot like Parasol Storm, where it's got some water. It's a mix of Parasol Storm and that one Wavebreaker map from the Battlefield 4 DLC, where it's like an underground bunker, or not bunkers, the sub base, where there's like,
a lot of good times on that map. That was a good one.
This, I think, legitimately is the best map that they've made, like in the entire game for Battlefield, because admittedly their base maps and then their DLC maps have only been okay. This one actually plays pretty well. It's got good, like, different engagement distances. It's got some nice variety. There's like the outside and the inside, so you kind of get a little bit of mix there. And it was pretty fun. They added in a bow.
Nice.
Which is,
you're not a true FPS until you've got the bow.
You've got the old bow, and it's not as bad as the bow from Battlefield 4. I'll tell you that much. It's got a faster travel speed. It seems to one shot if you're like up close and you hit him in the chest, but it kind of felt
it goes right through that ceramic plating, dude. I know that ceramic plate's meant to stop, armor piercing rounds, but they didn't anticipate the arrowhead,
The arrow.
Yeah,
yes.
it's like it's
slower moving, so that means it does more damage.
It's the Dune principle, right?
I was just thinking Dune too. Yeah, that's perfect.
Everybody knows our body armor works like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually went on some really fun streaks with it where I was just popping heads, and it was cool. So I enjoyed that as well. They added a new character, a new operator, because it's basically Battlefield 2042, but Delta Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually legitimately thought that it was a fun time on the map. I enjoyed myself.
I think that game is still like, is their player count still going
There's
up?
a player base, but it feels like it is not in
America.
America. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll join a server and there'll be like 10 people and I have to wait for it to fill up.
Holy crap, dude. This game is on fire. 24-hour peak, 194,000 players on Steam alone.
That's a lot.
All-time player peak was yesterday. So they're just on a incline.
They're going up. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. As we said, that those peak hours are in like I think they're mostly like kind of Eastern times. And like China and maybe Russia and some of those countries. So it's not quite as popular in the States, but and it's free to play. So that definitely tracks more in certain markets, you know?
Yeah.
But holy smokes. Yeah. I mean, they're hitting higher player counts than like a lot of Battlefield games ever see on Steam, you know?
Yeah.
And I think they launched their mobile version, which is I have no interest in a mobile FPS.
And their console version comes out in August.
Yeah. So I mean, holy smokes! And then Battlefield's gonna launch into that, which, you know, I think for us, I think I can speak for both of us saying we're far more interested in the next Battlefield title than playing updates for Delta Force. But for other markets, non-American markets or Eastern markets, they're probably going to lose a huge amount of sales to Delta Force to a degree.
It could, yeah, it very well could.
Yeah.
Especially because it's free.
Yep. Free Delta Force. Now Battlefield's going to come out with their free-to-play Royale or whatever tacked on, but...
Yeah, that we know. We there's nothing being confirmed, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's highly, highly likely that it's going to be free-to-play Battle Royale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which we don't know how we'll do, you know, like
right.
Historically, they've all been dead on arrival.
Yes.
Every single one of them. I guess there's only been 2, but still. So maybe this time it won't be. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Delta
Force was fun. It's not a game that I personally am going to go back to and play like, you know, every week, but every so often come back, try out the new content, see what it's like, and it's basically in a lot of ways, it's better than Battlefield 2042 in some ways and worse than others, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know why they chose Battlefield 2042 as their inspiration.
Sure.
But it's nice to see that the maps that they have been making recently feel like they're more inspired by like older Battlefields and not the newer ones.
Yeah. My main problem with Delta Force is whenever I play it, I go, this was kind of better in like this Battlefield game, or like I'd rather just go fair. And play a Battlefield game.
That's completely fair.
They did it better, but also Delta Force is totally free to play, so it's many people's introduction to this type of genre of game. I'd love to see their financial charts for Delta Force because I'm just like, how can they afford to make this game for free? Like, are they making that much on the microtransactions?
They must. Yeah, they must be.
Or they're just being bankrolled hardcore because it's like, this is a new business tactic that we'll see a lot of Chinese companies do, where they're like, hey, we're not going to be successful unless we sell, 100 million units, at which point then we turn a profit, and that becomes their business model. And it's wild, but it works. And then it like obliterates the competition. I'm like, is that what Delta Force is going for here? Where they're like, this isn't successful until we dominate this genre of games
we destroy our competition.
Yeah. And then we reap all the rewards. And you're like, ooh, I hope that's not their business model, because that's terrifying. But maybe it is. I finally got to see my Formula One movie, Matt.
Oh baby, how was it?
It was good. It was fun. It wasn't like, I'm not going to say as Top Gun 2 level amazing.
Okay.
Same director as Top Gun 2.
How did Brad Pitt do?
He was fine. I don't think they wrote him a character that was overly interesting. He's generally the man of few words, too cool for school.
Curmudgeon. I'm an old, I hear you. Maybe not curmudgeon, but
basically a cowboy, but of the race car drivers, So it's just sort of like, I'm not going to say more than needs to be said.
So just cool, basically.
Just super cool.
Just a suave badass.
Yeah. Great camera work. The most interesting thing about the film, to me, having watched Formula One for quite a few years now, was that they were intermixing the races with real races.
No, that's cool.
So I'm like, that was from like 2 years ago. I remember that crash in real life, and they superimposed their Formula One cars into those real races, which was wild to see.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it was pretty neat, because if you didn't know that, it would have just been a race. But
right.
Yeah.
So it's a real crash. You're witnessing an actual real crash and not just some CGI thing.
Yeah. I mean, they did their own crashes, of course, for the movie.
Yeah.
But there were actual race crashes and famous races that I'm like recognizing from the past several years. Also,
just like, hold up, wait a second.
Yeah. Also, they didn't make a completely fictional grid of racers. They're racing against all the real racers in real life. So the fictional team is Brad Pitt's team and his co-driver, his teammate. Those are the fictional guys, but they're racing against all real world drivers that are all current drivers. And so when they're like standing up to do like the driver profiles and stuff, you're like, that's Max Verstappen, that's Lewis Hamilton, that's these famous real world drivers that are racing right now. And it's just funny to see them in the movie. You're like, they're standing next to Brad Pitt on like the celebration, podium. And
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. It probably go over the head of people who are coming by as just sort of,
they're just going to think they're actors.
Yeah, exactly. But I've that tickled me quite a bit, is to watch them. And then like, Max Verstappen will be on his tail in the movie and he'll be like, this guy's good, and I'm like, yeah, it's the best racer in the world. Of course he's good. But it's just funny to see them like give those shout outs. And then like, they're battling Lewis Hamilton in like these fun sequences. And they're just saying it's Lewis Hamilton.
It's not, but yeah, it's great. That's cool.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was a little long. It was 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't have enough depth to be 2.5 hours.
Okay.
They could have cut some races out of it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't an epic, if that makes sense. It didn't have the depth to be an epic.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I was like, you could have cut some races out of that and got to the point a little bit sooner. But I did enjoy it. It feels like a good introduction to F1 to people on the sidelines. There's a little, I found it funny where the commentators, they're doing like a little bit of exposition commentating, where I'm like, they would never say that while they're commentating a race in real life. But there's a lot of like, he's coming into the pits to get his tires so he can go faster now. And you're like, yeah, you're not going to say that during a race, but during a movie, it was sort of like, okay, they
have to inform your average Joe who doesn't have any idea about what's going on. It's like, oh, that's why they're going into the pit. Most people be like, why are they stopping? It's a race. You got to keep going.
Yeah. So they use the commentators to basically explain racecraft, which they do normally during a race, but not to the extent that they did during the movie. So the movie was a little heavy-handed in the exposition, but again, fine, and I think appropriate for, you got to be able to watch the movie if you don't know everything about racing. So I enjoyed it, and they did a nice job of explaining why a 60-year-old is racing a Formula One car. Although he's 50 in the movie. He's a 60-year-old playing a 50-year-old. And
boy, does he pull it off, because he has aged well.
Yeah, I know. He's an attractive man. And that's sort of, there's a few jokes in the movie about that, where they're just like, he is one attractive man,
Look at that hot hunk of a man.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I recommend it.
Well, good.
For anyone who's looking for a racy film. Literally racy. It was racy. And then
I finished off Project Hail Mary. I loved it.
I think I'm going to get that. I think I'm going to listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend listening to the audiobook. The audiobook, I think, elevates it.
Okay.
For sure.
Sick.
Yeah. I also finished off Death Stranding. Fantastic ending. Now that I've sat on it, though,
you can explain it now, right?
I could, yeah. It's a lot more basic. It's a much more basic, like, story and world building compared to the first one, because the first one was building the world and this one doesn't really have it. Like, it's already built, and so it's just kind of telling the story. I liked it, but I do have my complaints with it too. So I might have to give it more like time to ruminate, because I enjoyed all the way through, but then by the end I was like, okay, all right,
yeah,
it was good, but didn't hit the highs in some ways that I was hoping that it would.
I see.
Compared
It's interesting with heavy games that are heavy on narrative, where you're like, I love this gameplay, and then if the story doesn't quite hit where you want it to, it like detracts a little bit.
It does hit. It does, but I don't know how to describe it without like spoiling stuff. So I won't describe it. I really like the game. I legitimately think it was a fantastic game. I loved it all the way through. But there's some things like for example, you can basically use your truck for 90% of the traversal. So you're basically just driving around for like
that's unfortunate.
90% of it.
Yeah, because so much of the first game was walking.
Right. And you can still walk if you wanted to, but you're basically just making it harder for yourself just to make it harder on yourself, you know? So it was a lot of truck driving there.
Wait,
I felt
as somebody who hasn't played it,
why
don't you just use the truck in the first place?
What do you mean? In the first game?
Or like, why are you walking to begin with if you have trucks?
Oh, I don't know. Story game. You just maybe just because of the game. You know, you have to. So the reasons is that you need to connect the chiral network to be able to link up with other settlements that are around these cities that are around the United States, and they have technology, and then you use their blueprints to then make. That's the justification gameplay wise, is that they have the blueprint to make a car that you did not have. And then now that you've linked up, you can now use the blueprint.
So you have all this crazy exosuit tech, but you can't make a freaking car.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got all this amazing tech that we don't have yet. But then they're like, we have this new device. It's got 4 wheels. It can cover uneven terrain. Yeah. Calling it the automobile. Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah, you do what you got to do to make the gameplay work.
Gameplay wise, though, like in every way, I'd say it's more engaging. Combat was more engaging. They give you more options, like so many more options and creative ways of dealing with like enemies and stuff. It does get a little samey because you don't have to be creative. You can just use it like an LMG and just rattle off shots and kill them that way. But like wide variety of different enemies to fight this time around compared to the first game. The traversal, while you can use 90% just the truck, there is a lot of like unique areas to explore. And like I said,
I want one of those little gyrocopters. That's what I want.
There's unfortunately no gyrocopters.
Yeah. Okay.
That would have been cool though.
The little Mad Max gyrocopter that flies overhead.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. I personally would have preferred more of a traversal challenge in this than combat challenge, because I'm not playing it necessarily for combat. I wanted it for Death Stranding, you know, because that's what the first game was more about. So that's what I was kind of like. When I beat the game, I was like 3 out of 3 bowls, 10 out of 10. You know, I loved it. But now that I've sit on it, it's kind of gone down a little bit, because it's like, oh yeah, that was a little bit strange that, you know, that part didn't really resonate with me as much as I was kind of hoping for after I've sat on it more. So
interesting.
I still wholly recommend it for people that like the first game, though. I really, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yep.
I like the idea of a game that focuses more on just traversal, because I've seen the combat in it and it looks neat, but just seeing somebody fall down a hill is far more interesting for some reason. Seeing you fall down a hill is also very entertaining.
Right at the beginning.
Well, it's just funny when somebody's like just trying to walk and then they fall down. You're like, oh, that's pretty funny, actually. I don't know why that's so entertaining, but you're like, oh yeah, if you don't make a good decision with where you walk, you will fall. And it's like, oh, that's kind of like real life, you know? Yeah. Walking sim. I mean, I'm into it. They could make a game that's like more like, what are those spin tire games where you get stuck in the mud and stuff?
SnowRunner.
Yeah, they could like fully embrace that, but in the walking.
I actually would love to have a game that is like Death Stranding, but more emphasis on just traversal and make it really challenging. And you've got like actual levels that are designed to be specifically around, you got to bring the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to have to go back to get like that ladder or whatever, right? I think that'd be really cool.
Or it's just going to be way harder to get across.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I liked is in Stalker 2, when you're like out in like swampy areas or like bubble fields and you're like trying to get around. They had some fun stuff there where you're like really making traversal decisions based on what you see. You're like, I don't want to run through all those bubbles over there. Like something's going to happen. I'm not liking the vibe. That looks a little clearer. I'm going to head that way. You got your little sensor out. Like there's some fun traversal things in there too, where you're making a lot of informed decisions based on what perceived threat you find ahead.
The world tells its own story.
Yeah. I think there's a lot more games in that genre, that sort of exploration. And it's funny to think about it now, but I think I do enjoy the walking and exploration in Stalker 2 more than I do the combat in it to a degree.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Well, it didn't help that the combat was a bit rough at launch, and it was also very unoptimized, so that didn't really help either.
Well, in a lot of the combat when you're fighting, especially when it's like a mutated animal or something, you're like, I just shoot at this thing that runs at me. Like, more or less, you know.
God, I forgot about those damn mutant dogs too that would like teleport and make
those ones are
copies
the
of itself.
worst.
Ugh.
Yeah, I hated those ones. And then you're like,
it was so they nerfed it, I think, because they realized it was so stupid.
Yeah,
because like I don't know what dog is the real dog. You'd see it like teleport and deal damage, and then all of a sudden like 50 dogs would pop out, and you're like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah, and then you're like, I just shot like thousands of dollars worth of ammo. So now like the next mission, I'm screwed.
Now you have nothing.
I should just go back and reload my old save because I just spent everything shooting a dumb mutant dog that didn't drop jack, by the way. Once you kill it, you're like, oh, cool, some like flesh or some crap, you know, whatever the dog drops, you know, you're like, that was worth 1,000 rounds of ammo. I'm going to go load my old save and walk around this stupid swamp, you know, like, yeah, the risk not worth the reward often in Stalker 2. So a little balance there.
I can't wait to get back into Stalker 2 because I enjoyed my playthrough with all its flaws, but I think it's got so much more potential to be a better game.
I actually want to jump in and try out some of the mods. I did boot it up the other day actually to test performance on my new rig as well. And it made me want to try some mods for it because I think the mod community is starting to ramp up right now. And that's really what made the first Stalker games so much more enjoyable to come back to, was all the crazy modding stuff that fixed a lot of the problems with the first game and then added on more content and more ways to enjoy it. And so it's like the actual vanilla Stalker versus the modded version of the original Stalker is like, it's a pretty big difference. They just fixed so many problems with it, and that's probably what Stalker 2 is going to become, is like,
probably
you want the good mod pack before you jump on this one. It'll make it better.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I've played the game since they like balanced out more of the trading stuff too, and so I don't know what the new trading economy is like and all that, because it was pretty challenging. Or like, remember the repair economy and stuff?
It was terrible.
Horrible. You would lose all your money. You're like, I have no money left to like actually experiment.
I never had money in that game to do it. Like the upgrade system I could not interact with it at all because I couldn't, I had no money. It was the game was not ready for release. It's understandable because what they had to go through to make that game. I don't blame them. And like I said, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't ready for release. It needed more time in the oven.
Yep. But they're on I'm really curious to see if because they're on UE5 and they made this game. I don't know what version, that would be a good thing to look up actually, is what version of Unreal Engine 5 they launched on, because the latest version that they showed off The Witcher 4 gameplay with has all this really impressive tech that would probably translate really well into Stalker's world to like improve the performance and the visuals like simultaneously. They could be in for like a potential engine upgrade like at some point that's like, hey, here's another 20 FPS, you know, for everyone. I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to hit some sort of cool new tech plateau with the game. But Stalker's so complex that doing an engine upgrade at this point would be probably months and months of work to fix everything that's going to inevitably break. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You want to wrap up the old Potteroonie?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for dropping by the podcast. We appreciate you. Let us know what you think about the Battlefield debate in the comments. I do want to hear your opinions on it, actually. I know you'll let me know anyway, so I appreciate it ahead of time.
I'm sure.
It's going to be 90% of the comments.
You're stupid. You're stupid. Which I am. I am very stupid.
Yeah. We're also old school fans. I'd be curious to know, like, new school fans. When people say that, like, they came into Battlefield on, like, certain titles, or like BF5 was my first game, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm curious to know what they prefer in a Battlefield game. That's always interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're, at the end of the day, they're just opinions, and we're just talking.
Yeah. We're just gamers, bro. Who cares what we think, right?
I mean, I kind of care what you think, baby.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Matt. I like your hot takes, Matt, you know? What does Matt think about this user interface? You know, that's what I
there we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah. So thank you guys for dropping by the podcast. Again, if you want to check out our Patreon, it's linked below. And otherwise, Matt is going to hit you up with some incredibly valuable advice.
This is related to the Crafted story, and it is, remember, there's usually two sides to a story, and things aren't usually as cut and dry as it first appears. So, just keep that in mind, especially when you're browsing the internet these days. Good Lord.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many one-sided stories. I've adopted that principle in life. When somebody's like talking trash about somebody, I'm like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I want to hear the other person's story before I render judgment.
It's like, you're my friend and I support you, but like at the same time, what's the other side of the story?
What did Bill say about this situation? Because I bet you Bill wouldn't have just said and done all those things for no reason.
Right.
There's something being left out here. So, Crafton. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of what's actually going on, but when you hear about $250 million and people getting fired, you're like, huh? What's going on now?
It's like, the big corporation wanted to save a lot of money. It's hard to take your side on that one.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? What often happens to be the truth more often than not, I find, is it's somewhere in between.
Somewhere, yeah.
Maybe the devs were slacking off and not hitting their goals, and maybe Crafton thought this would be a great opportunity to save a lot of money and fire some devs that maybe weren't quite doing a great job, so probably a little bit of both.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for dropping by the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.